What's up, everybody? It's Chad. I'm back again with another episode this week of Ask Chad Grassy Logic. I'm here with my friend Jade Hill, who I went to high school with. Thank you for joining me.
Hey, Chad, how's it going?
It's going good, dude.
Hey, America.
Thanks for joining me. If you guys obviously probably don't know, me and Jade actually went to high school together. We met in ninth grade. Known her all these years. She's gone and done some great things now. She lives in Germany now. You've been learning German too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually have my B1 certificate in German.
Oh,
So that's the halfway mark. One more level is college German. So
wunderbar.
yeah. Wunderbar. Yeah, great. Yeah.
I learned some from the
Sie
Germans we
sprechen
grew
sehr
up
gut Deutsch.
with.
Yeah.
We grew up with them, so I should
Yeah,
a little
that's
bit.
true.
Yeah,
30
yeah.
years. That's
Yeah.
that's quite a difference because a lot of people don't know that the Germans stayed there for so long.
Yeah, and for those of you watching, probably confused, Alamogordo was home to the German Air Force, the Luftwaffe even, for over 20 years, about 20, 30 years. And so we grew up with German kids. They had German food. Actually, for a while on the radio station, they had commercials that were in English, Spanish, and German. And then I remember the signs were in English, Spanish, and German, like at restaurants and stuff like that. Yeah, they had their own school. They had a German kids school. They had the German bus, Deutschschule or whatever the hell it was. Some of the kids went to school with us, and it was a good
they
time.
grew up, and a lot of them came back and got married to Americans, and so
Anya,
and it's really interesting to see how Germany and New Mexico kind of are coinciding now from our childhood because we grew up with Germans.
Yeah, it is, and going there, it's like, this is interesting because I went there for a little bit too, years ago, and some of the things I saw, I was like, oh, interesting, or like I got more of the feel of like what a donor is, whatever, because I only have the ones in Alamo. But you go over there, you're like, oh, there's all kinds of different donors, which is almost like a gyro but with bread.
Yeah.
It's pretty much what it is, a gyro with bread.
Yeah.
But anyway, before we get back into the conversation and we get started with the actual episode, I need to thank my sponsors today. I want to thank Monster House, where we're sitting right now, here at the Consumption Lounge. I call this the Edgar Allan Poe Corner. Come check them out here in Las Cruces. It's on Picacho. It's the only consumption lounge we have here in Las Cruces. Good vibes. They got cannabis here and just really good environment. It's really fun. And I know Jade, you said you liked it too when you walked in.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
This is amazing. Compared to the social club that I was in Germany for weed, it's completely different. So this is very laid back. Staff is great. Look, I like these decorations. It's dark. That's my thing. Yeah, this is nice.
Yeah, 100%. Also, I want to thank Cinder Cannabis. They're one of the other sponsors for the show, and also Turquoise Bloom. They're here in Las Cruces as well. They're my third sponsor. So thank you, all of you, with your contributions. Makes this show keep going. And Adams Radio Group, thank you. I thank you guys. I feel like I don't thank you guys enough. And Gino, of course, a producer. So thank all of y'all before we move on, and we'll get on with today's episode. So as I said, I'm here with my friend Jade. We've known each other a long time, and you already kind of gave everybody a brief introduction, who you are and all that. But since you're not from New Mexico and you're not really in the cannabis industry, they were like, well, what is she doing here? Like, what the heck? So for those of you wondering, I actually mentioned Jade probably a couple episodes, and I mentioned a couple times. I sent her on an uber secret mission in Germany once I found out cannabis was legal there. Her and I got into a conversation. I asked her, I was like, hey, would you mind maybe, I don't know, checking out some of the clubs, the legal scene, really how it works there? And she obliged.
I love adventure.
Yeah.
Quest number 1. Yes.
Yeah, 100%. So how has that been for you? Like, how's the mission been going?
It's been going rather well. I feel like Germany is basically just following in the footsteps or alongside New Mexico for most of the legalization with medicinal purposes. But for the full legalization, they're having a few hiccups. But they do have one social club of a member of 500 people currently in Stuttgart, which is a great accomplishment in itself. And what they do there is they learn about, weed and medicinal properties of it, how to grow it, the effects of it, and if anybody had any questions on how to smoke it or whatnot. But at the point right now, edibles are not fully legal right now.
Weird.
They're working on that right now. So they're at that cusp, I would say, where it's going to be moving towards complete. But right now they are allowed to have, I think it, and don't quote me, about 25 grams legally. So they're moving forward at a very good pace. The socialization clubs, though, there could be more of those, but like I said, this is a new 2023 thing that they're pushing that
Yeah.
fully.
Yeah, because here in New Mexico, we legalized in actually 2021. We
Hmm.
didn't get shops until 2022, the
Hmm.
following year. So it was legal. You could possess it, but there's nowhere to buy it. So it was in that little weird area where the state was kind of looking the other way when all these
Hmm.
illegal events are going on.
Great. I'm
there was,
glad you said that. Yeah.
yeah, there was a ton of illegal events going on, and I'm sure Germany's experiencing the same thing. I'm sure, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
because like you said, that's a good way to put it. It's in that gray area right now where technically you're allowed to have up to 3 plants, whatnot. Again, don't quote me on the exact amount because it's going back and forth on what it could be. And so what you want to do is just really look at what's going to be happening in the next few months, I believe, because they are voting in a new party. And once they do that, I'm pretty sure everything's going to be a lot more solid.
yeah,
But yes, they are moving along. It's nice to see.
yeah.
It's almost like a, you know, you see New Mexico going through the similar thing, and then I get to see it again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's cool.
really
That's true.
great. Yeah.
Yeah. You get to cheer for your home state, and then you also get to enjoy it while you're in the new place that you're living, which is great.
Yeah.
Not many people can benefit that way, especially being in Europe.
Mhm.
There's not many places where it's legal, like that. So you get to enjoy it yourself, which is cool. Have you noticed an attitude change, like within the public when it comes to cannabis? Like, are they a little more accepting, or has that been, I guess, with it being medicinal medically for so long, has it helped with normalizing cannabis?
I feel like with my friends and the social group that I was speaking to people undercover, not anymore though.
Dun, dun, dun.
Why did she ask me 21 questions? um, you know, I find that they always knew the benefits, and so they're actually, because of other countries going before them, they are not putting up that fight that the first, states in the US did, or the Netherlands. So yeah, I feel like it's going rather smoothly, and the social clubs is a good way to start because I don't know if New Mexico had these social clubs at first.
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
We didn't have dispensaries until like 2010, 2011.
Yeah.
And so we just got consumption lounges. So yeah, we were pushing for them when we were in the medical days around 2015, 16. I think we finally got them around 2018, 19, but we didn't actually get like an adult use one where anybody can just go until 2022.
And
Yeah.
what's interesting is the social club is before the dispensary or whatnot because it's an education center
Interesting.
on everything about marijuana, everything about its benefits, how to grow it, how to do whatnot.
Yeah.
And then the next step would be the dispensaries.
Okay.
So,
Hmm.
and I'm not, for my experience, Germans, all my friends, they'll admit it too, they're very methodical, pragmatic. So
Yeah.
they're putting on extra steps to be sure, but it's an interesting experience to see that they are doing the extra steps for this. And I think they learned from the Netherlands because it's rather close. And
Yeah.
of course, the USA, they're heavily influenced with the US entertainment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they get to see the news here and
They love
everything.
Nikes.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. No, and that's interesting you say that because, we didn't take that approach in the United States. It's more or less like, here you go, figure it out. But Germany, they decided to educate the customer base first, and we didn't do that. We're doing that now. And it's a pain in the ass. That's why this show exists. I'm educating the consumer essentially. And maybe if we did do that during the medical days, we would have more of grounding for the rec days because you have more patients that can educate now. And most of the patients work in the industry still, because in the industry when it was medical, it was patients working at the dispensaries. So now when it went rec, those patients are still working at the dispensaries, and now they're bringing in all these new people who may not have the same experience or knowledge. They could have shared the same thing with them, and that would have made it easier to educate the public a little bit further. And then you have, at the time, at our peak, I think we had 156,000 medical cannabis patients in New Mexico. And then once legalization happened, it just started to drop. It just significantly dropped. And we knew that was going to happen because there was an influx of patients, and we knew most of them didn't need their card. And so we knew that was going to happen. Now, there's a really good benefit of having a medical cannabis card here. You don't have to pay tax if you have a medical cannabis card. So that's like the huge benefit. So what I'm trying to say is that actually might work in the long run with Germany, because right now we're having a hard time going from saying strain to cultivar. We're having a hard time telling patients that indica and sativa doesn't really exist anymore. Everything is so hybridized that it's almost impossible to tell which one is more dominant of the other. So that's been like one of the hangups that we've been having. In Germany, you may not have that issue and problem because they go to these clubs and they're getting educated the whole time they're there. And that just sounds, in my opinion, amazing and a really smart way to go about it. On the surface, it seems stupid, and I've said that before. I was like, well, that sounds dumb. But now that you break it down like this, I'm like, oh, Germans, you are smart. I hate you.
Yeah,
You know?
they are super intelligent, klug, clever.
Yeah.
They really did watch. I would say they watched America a lot more on what was going on there because of just like, on the television, a lot of the movies and whatnot that they see on my Netflix is full of American movies, and it's Germany Netflix.
Yeah, yeah.
So when seeing that, they put in some extra steps, and I do believe it's going to be beneficial. I like that point you made. I never connected the two. I just thought, they're going to put on extra steps because that's something that they're very cautious about doing major changes in law.
Yeah.
So this is going to work out perfectly. They're opening up 2 more clubs in Stuttgart, which is, don't quote me, but I think is top 3 city of population in Germany. So it's a very large city with about 3 to 4 different American bases surrounding area on what constitutes as surrounding. So they do have that heavy American influence too.
Yeah.
So with that, it's only helping because when I met people, one of the first things they asked me, maybe it's my nativeness, they're like, do you smoke weed? And I was, so
that's dope. And I do smoke weed.
I don't know if I just look, I don't know.
You just put the part, I guess, to them. Yeah. And I guess the same for me if I went there now. They'd probably be like, you smoke weed, huh? How do you know?
Is it the lab?
What? Absurd. And curious question too, are people consuming like outside? Because when I lived in Germany for that brief time, I remember drinking in public and seeing people drink in public and being on the train drinking. Is it the similar with cannabis?
With cannabis, that's a very good question. I do know there are regulations heavily enforced that they are not allowed to consume cannabis anywhere near a school or government buildings. And I found that very interesting.
Yeah.
Because again, the extra steps that they're putting in place that they're getting from somewhere in and there's some other European countries that are very interested in legalization, and they'll probably go after Germany. But with this, yes, as far as overall consumption outside, it's that gray area right now.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't suggest it at this time. I mean, but it's a form of advocating for it. I mean, to each their own.
Yeah.
But
That's crazy. Yeah. I was curious about that because, being there, we would pop open a beer and just walk around the little villages because she had mentioned, what's considered surrounding area in Germany. When you live in a village, I lived in a village called Wolfsgate, was the name of the village. And within a kilometer of that was like 6 other villages, and then within a kilometer of that it's like little spiders of little villages all around. So yeah, you have all these little areas. So we would just walk from village to village sometimes, and we'd just be drinking beer on the way to the next one, and would hit up the little pub or something. We would literally village hop and just walk around, and like you can do that there. And I was wondering if people could do that with cannabis there, but it makes sense, why they add those regulations here in New Mexico specifically. You're not allowed to consume outside.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, in the county anyway, they made a rule where outside consumption isn't allowed.
Interesting. You can consume tobacco.
Yeah. Yeah, no, vape. You walk by a bar, dude smoking outside, and the fence is like to my hip. Like
we all know the effects of that.
Yeah.
But that's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's all just steps towards a greater purpose, though. We're getting there, but it's a process. But you do know, and I do know, that once it's fully legalized, they're gonna be outside with that.
Oh yeah.
They're gonna be outside on the trains, everywhere. And I mean, they're just walking around with full cases of beer and drinking. I mean, I had Halloween, sidebar, at Halloween, and I decorated my house like crazy, which they don't really do in Germany too much, because actually if your house is too distracting, it's considered illegal because you can distract drivers. So I did a little much with mine,
Yeah.
and I got teenagers, 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds there with beer, and I was handing out beer as part of trick-or-treating
Yeah.
because they love Halloween.
Yeah.
And it was awesome.
Yeah.
Because look, I got a long line of people at my house that look like a McDonald's. And, I was like, and so I can't wait. Like,
Yeah.
just think of the Halloween 2 years from now.
Yeah.
Like, if they're
True.
allowed to walk around with the weed, look,
Here's
what
some
am I going to be
weed.
handing out?
Yeah. Some cookies.
Yeah, for the older kids, or
Yeah.
I mean, we're all kids at heart.
I still
a
enjoy
kid.
Halloween,
I love it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And it's cool that the older kids are still trick or treating, but they get beer. It's a little bit. And I did notice in Germany, it is different. I mean, they still have vending machines where you can buy cigarettes. When I was there, I don't know if they've changed that.
I was gonna take a picture of one, but
Yeah.
I was like, no, I don't know about that. But like, yeah, they have vending machines with condoms, everything that you need. Like, if you're on the street and you're like, I really need a condom and some cigarettes and a beer, and then you have the vending machine that has it for you.
Yeah. Or like the little village shops, you just walk up, has a window, you can get some chicken and a beer, like something like that. We had a couple of those in the villages and stuff. So yeah, it's interesting how it sets up, but like the citizens themselves, like we've talked before the show, and I noticed this myself too, they follow the law there. They're like afraid to not follow the law.
Yes.
In Americans, we're kind of born to break the law, and we're kind of taught to break the law, like,
yes.
Yeah. And to like, oh, screw the man kind of situation.
Yeah.
We're fighters,
Yeah.
like that's just how
entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
Fighters from the beginning, warriors. I'm with that. Look,
Yeah.
I'm Native, and
Yeah.
we go hard, and America goes hard. That's what we're known for, outside the box thinking.
Yeah.
That's what's when I was in my class learning German, we had people from all around the country in that class, 25 different people, approximately 8 different countries. And when they asked, going down the line, what do you know about this country, and you're supposed to speak in Germany, everybody said entrepreneurship for America and Coca-Cola and the military, of course.
Yeah.
And so that's the top 3 things. And I said, wow, I didn't really think that got out, that we're just heavy into entrepreneurship. And they're like, no, like, people watch that.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic.
Interesting.
Like, yeah, to be known for that, to be known for some good things, and because news can be negative, so
Yeah.
fairly, I don't know, I don't watch that shit.
They're like calling us fat.
But yeah.
That's great. Yeah. And so it's just the point I wanted to make really was just their attitude towards the law is different than us. Like
Yeah.
they have an attitude of follow the law, as you said, very in the military term, dress right dress. Everything has to be by step too. America, we really don't go that route. And I think it's because we, like you said, the entrepreneurship, we build the plane as it flies a lot of the time, and that's just how business goes sometimes. It's like you have to build it as it flies, like you can set the framework for it and you can get it off the ground, but all right, once you're off, you got to keep building.
I like that point of view, because that's actually in the book that I'm writing, is the similarities between, there's a chapter in there in between Germans and Native Americans. One thing that I notice is that, say with our medical care, we pay after.
Yeah.
They pay before, but
Yeah.
it all evens out.
Mhm.
But you notice it's always, we pay after, we think after, we do after, let's find it. In
Yeah.
Germany, they're thinking ahead, every
Yeah.
little smart structure. I just find it it's an alternate universe. It really is. And like, look, if there's any way to get Germany and America, we could like move a continent so we can be closer, because look, it's just fascinating. Everyone needs to go out there and visit Germany. I mean, love that country.
Yeah, it's a fascinating country. I loved it there. My older sister was stationed there when she was in the military, when she was in the army. And it was cool me getting there. I was like, oh, cool. I can be because everywhere she was in the military, I was like somewhere opposite, like somewhere. I was in Hawaii. I was in Iraq. She went to Kosovo. She was in El Paso in Germany. So me, I was like, I don't know. So going to Germany on that contract I did was really cool. And just to see like, oh, this is what my sister was talking about. Because she would tell us about it all the time. She's like, I love Germany, this and that. The one thing I didn't like about Germany, it was offensive, was the damn cold. Oh, it's too cold there. It's ugh.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're Mexican, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So I'm Native American, so I love the cold there. It's refreshing. I actually do those cold baths where you jump into the bath, the Wim Hof thing, where you jump in there and early in the morning, freezing. I love it. Like, I feel so much better. It releases dopamine, serotonin all in your brain, and it helps with losing fat and retention of fat. And so Germany, the cold, and look at this. When you first come into Germany, if you're military, you have to take a class saying that you are to take vitamin D because you do not see the sun. Like
No.
that sun is just not there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the only thing I don't like is the lack of sunlight. Is it could get to you. It could get to you. So
You
I
are
agree
pretty
with that.
light, usually darker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but look, we're getting some protection now. I'm getting darker and darker because look, this place is a pressure cooker.
It's 100-something degrees,
From what
dude.
I remember, I'd be like, turn down the heat. It's the sudden change. I'm not
Yeah.
acclimated, so I'm sweating and I'm like, wow, like what temperature is it outside? And people are like, oh, it's just 80. And I'm
Yeah.
like, 80.
It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's like those TikToks I see from like the British people, and they're like, "Oh my God, we had a heat wave. It was 85 degrees," and we're like, "That's a nice spring day."
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, like, I wish it was 85. You know,
Yeah.
because my house stays 78, 77. You know, it's warm. And then I did an ancestry DNA thing a while ago, and so now they analyze your DNA, and I saw one, and it says that I'm very heat tolerant. I was like, yeah, no shit. You know,
Mhm.
like it says like I like tolerate heat really well. I'm like, it must be the opposite then. I don't tolerate cold very well at all because I don't. It sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, and those genetic testings are something else too.
Yeah.
Like you do the ancestry and you can add on the extra
Yeah,
testing
that's
to
what I
it.
did. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. It was only
Like,
$20, and they still
yeah.
add stuff on it on top of it. You don't have to pay more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you find out so many things
It's
about
helped me with
yourself.
my working out even. So I found out that I have a higher rate of oxygen to blood level. So when I do like HIIT training, it's more beneficial to me than any kind of other training.
Oh.
And so I started focusing more on that, and I was like, oh damn, it's right. Like, you know, if I do more high intensity workouts versus just, you know, powerlifting or whatever, it's better for my body just because it's used to doing that high intensity. It's just made to do that. And so I was
Yeah.
like, huh, okay. You know, so genetic testing is, you know, kind of important sometimes, you know?
Yeah, it is. The genetic testing now actually can tell you if you have the genomes for ADHD, which I have. And so I have all three of them that are now publicly, basically now they're agreeing that it is genetic. They
Yeah.
got three of them, but I actually have 10. So there's 10 altogether so far known, but the three they agree on. So
Yeah.
the genetic testing can help with all kinds of things.
Yeah.
They said I have a naturally high pain tolerance, so that makes it better for working out and doing
Yeah.
stuff like that. So yeah, I strongly agree on that too. I'm glad you brought that up because that's part of medical history. That's part of you know, helping out with the psychotropics and stuff,
Yeah.
and you know, medicinal marijuana. So yeah.
And yeah, and you know, you can find out allergies and stuff like that too through, you know, kind of genetic testing, or you know, you might be allergic to this or your likelihood or whatever. So yeah, that could help you out, you know. Yeah, I agree. So, but I didn't mean to get off too of topic, but you know, this is something important I wanted to mention to people.
Yeah.
You know, that, you know, these days we have a lot of technology at our fingertips to help you, because you can find out if you're predisposed to cancers. You know, like that's something really
good one.
important that actually I would suggest you all doing. If you have cancer in your family, it's great to do a genetic testing to see if you're predisposed. And I mention this because, you know, if you are, you're gonna have to use either cannabis or something to help you out. But yeah, it's important to do that, especially the earlier you catch it, the better.
Yes.
So, you know, do it younger, whatever, you know, say your aunt, your mom had cancer and you're where you might, it's nothing wrong to go do and test it. You know, I had
Yeah.
a friend last year, and she's very vocal about it. She's in the cannabis industry. I had her on the show last year. She was 98% likely to get breast cancer. So she went ahead and just got the procedure done and everything. And now she's at like 4%, you know, so
Fantastic. That's
yeah,
good
she was
to
able to
hear.
catch it so early that it wasn't even a thought of it happening in her body, but she saw through her genetics. They said, you're most likely at some time in your life gonna have this. And then they did it again and said it went down. And so lucky for her, you know, and she talks about it all the time, you know, she got new boobs and everything. So good for
Good
her.
for
and all that.
her.
Yeah, good for her.
Go girl.
Yeah, good for her. So she got new boobs and everything, and you know, luckily she's cancer free. So you know, it's a success story when it comes to genetic testing.
Yeah, and then with me, with my ADHD, I was misdiagnosed with anxiety after having a child. So this happens a lot with me and my clients and people that I help, that they get misdiagnosed with anxiety or depression. And those are hard hitting drugs. Antidepressants and anxiety, scientifically based, make you gain weight. And it can only add to some problems. So definitely that was a problem for me as I was working out, and then they were saying I have anxiety, and then turned out I did the genetic testing and it said just ADHD across the board. And then that's when I started experimenting with different ADHD medications and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then you have psychotropics that help with it, and green therapy, which is basically going outside and stuff, but just getting back to the basics. And I would have never known that. I would have continued on the journey of taking medication that just wasn't the right medication for me. Everyone's different, but for me, it was not working. And I found my help through the genetic testing too. So,
With me, unfortunately, I got tested for ADD in like middle school in 7th grade.
Mhm.
I mean, everyone pretty much knew I had ADD my whole life. It was like no secret. But when I got tested, like, yeah, you have ADD, and now it's ADHD. It's all lumped in together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I officially got diagnosed when I was in 7th grade. So I think if I took something like that, it'd be like, oh yeah, probably just about the same. So that makes sense. And I need to get with you afterwards to figure out what that test is because I want to take that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, we'll do that. And speaking of the anxiety and all that, you also went on another German journey with the ayahuasca stuff, right?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Care to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah. So interesting thing is that in the Netherlands, you can pay around 200 euros to visit a center where you go and you have about 7 to 8 aides. And depending on what you pay for, you can get a private session or you can get 20 people in a group, and you can take ayahuasca. And they level it out in measuring it to make sure that you're not taking too much or too little. And for basically the amount of a hotel stay, you can actually help with any kind of depression, anxiety, PTSD is a big one. So with psychotropics, with them working towards legalizing hopefully mushrooms, that is a known fact, is that mushrooms bridges with ayahuasca for helping with PTSD and trauma. So when you go to one of those centers, as much as a hotel stay, and you could help neural pathways in your brain, depression, anxiety, trauma as a child. And I do send a lot of my clients there, and most of the scientific studies, if not all of them, that are coming out right now, and they're waiting on a few right now, are all going towards it. They're seeing a major difference even in the brain chemistry. So this is very rewarding, and to have New Mexico going towards that too.
Yeah.
And the next step is ayahuasca, I'm hoping.
It is actually,
yeah. That's the plan. It's fantastic because we can help so many people with that, because we got the studies now. Those studies are hard hitters too, because they're going directly into Peru and with the tribal people and testing people out. So there's no in between. Like this is where it comes from. It's fresh. This is what they're doing, and look at the neural pathways that are happening in people's brain and neuroplasticity. So basically, lack of better words, you're getting smarter memory wise. You're able to unlock memories emotional baggage that you didn't know you had. I don't know why I didn't want to go for that management position. Well, now you know, because when you were a child, someone told you not to overstep. But then you find out that that's the reason why it's holding you back, because you have unlocked a memory in your brain. It's all in there, but it's in the subconscious, and it brings it forward. And then I've had people completely change their lives for the better, always for the better. I haven't, knock on wood, had any issues with, psychotropics. They really do help. Yeah.
So do you kind of feel it needs to be done in more of a controlled environment versus like just at home and you're just there alone or just with a friend or something? Do you kind of feel that the way that they do it that way is more of a safer route for newer users?
As a relativist, I'm put on my political hat right now.
Yeah.
So as a relativist, I believe that there can be two rights and two wrongs at the same time. I believe that what is right for me might not be right for you. I believe two people, and proven, can see two things happening at one thing at the same time with two people, and they both have a completely different idea of what happened.
Yeah.
And so for me, living in Germany, I feel like I'm getting a bias of going on the cautionary But back when I was on the reservation, I was young. No,
Yeah.
we did not do that. We went, you know, it's a banger. We just did it.
Yeah.
So I find that just having this conversation with you, I think that it'll help propel it quicker if we go slower at the beginning.
Okay. Kind of like the German route.
Yeah, the German route.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I'm getting a bias, but look, America is my husband, but my mistress is Germany. So like I'm taking from both worlds and just going forward. But for ayahuasca, I would definitely say having those centers would be helpful to help educate. As far as mushrooms, mushrooms last about 5 to 6 hours. Ayahuasca, it can be anywhere from 5 to 8 hours, depending on how much you take.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason why I say for ayahuasca.
Yeah.
For mushrooms, I don't have an opinion of that. It's dependent on the person. Maybe your first time, maybe you, anytime someone took a first time, I always recommend having a friend.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
so,
I do too.
Yeah, to have a good time too. And you can also, if you get in a bad place or something were to happen, you have someone there to help you. So
yeah,
it's basically the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, I kind of agree. The first time I used it, I was around a group of friends I really trusted. You know, you don't want to be around someone who's just going to fuck with you, because then it's just going to make it terrible for you. And you know those people. Yeah, you probably.
We all know those people.
Yeah, we know those people. Yeah. Like, don't ask that person to be there that time if you.
Especially if they volunteer. Like, I'll do it.
Yeah. Yeah. If you know that's the person, they go, oh, me. You're like, no.
He's waving his hand over.
Yeah, anyone but you, Gino. So
it could go either way.
So yeah, thank you for sharing that with me. You know, because you know they have the studies and stuff going on in the Netherlands, and you know it seems like Europe is kind of taking a lead on a lot of these studies and a lot of this headway when it comes to it. In America, we're so standoffish. You know, like we're like, oh, whoa, we're scared. You know, public health, this and that. And I'm like, alcohol has done far more harm to public health than most things in our country.
You don't have to tell me.
Yeah.
As a Native American, alcohol has decimated my reservation completely. Yeah. But look, we got them back with cigarettes. It's tobacco. Yeah. I'm just kidding.
I love the dark humor, guy. It stays.
Yeah, it just keeps and keeps and keeps after the years and years of knowing me. But yeah, alcohol has decimated, and cigarettes. One could argue that the television is a form of drugs because it releases dopamine.
Social media
is highly addictive.
Yeah.
So like, what are we doing here, people? Like, we need to pick our poison, we need to pick our medicines, but we need to label them correctly.
Yeah.
And that's
I agree.
Yeah, just label them correctly is all I'm asking.
Yeah.
These herbs have been around for millennia.
Mm-hmm.
And let's get them in the forefront. Let's start talking about it. And that's why I'm here today, is because look what you've been doing is so great. Like, you helped to propel that, and we need more of that.
Appreciate it.
Because we're moving forward, we're not moving backward. Like, let's start with the mushrooms, and look, you start legalizing ayahuasca centers, I will be back. Because I think that those could only help, and I've only seen them help people. And along with even with medicinal marijuana, PTSD is showing in scientific studies too. So it's just like these steps that we're taking. It's fantastic to see. Yeah. I am very proud.
Yeah.
Of New Mexico right now.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. It's been a long time coming, and I'm proud of you because you're from New Mexico, but you've taken all this information from Europe and now you're sharing it with everyone, and you've gone over there and seen this like firsthand,
Mm-hmm.
And that's great, because how many of us from New Mexico get to do that? I didn't even get to do it, like you're doing it, you're kind of living the dream, getting to experience these different things that, in different countries and how they're going about it. I only get to go to different states and see how that state is doing,
But look, the United States is huge compared to Europe. I mean, like, I can go drive an hour and be in France. So like, you're covering more ground than I am. I know it sounds better that you're in Europe, you're far away, but when you look at that, you're covering a lot more ground.
Yeah.
And then also the knowledge that I have from New Mexico and my culture and what we've been through, and the knowledge that they have for millennia, I'm bringing to Germany to help German clients.
Yeah.
So it's like a bridgeway.
Yeah.
Like a bridge. So I'm finding it a very interesting experience.
Yeah. And that's what humanity does. We share culture, we share knowledge, we share healing, we share, unfortunately, wars and fighting, but we share things, with each other all the time.
I'm very much against gatekeeping information.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so open about what I do on Facebook about ayahuasca centers and stuff, because yes, I might take some hits, as you probably took some hits in the beginning. I mean, I'm getting the 1-2 left and right, but people need to know that this could actually change your life.
Yeah.
You know, medicinal marijuana, psychotropics, like these things work.
Yeah, and we're from a conservative area, so you know it's gonna happen either way. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, fairly conservative
Yeah.
too. I'm just to think that in a matter of years, where are we going to be at?
Yeah.
And we're going to be looking back.
Yeah, you know, like this conversation, you know, maybe 4 years from now, I'm gonna look back and be like, that's not what happened, but damn, you know, that was a good idea.
I'm going
You
to
know?
say it's going to happen. Everything's
Yeah.
going to work out. It's going to be fine.
Well, I mean, like the way we went about it, in the end,
Oh,
you know,
okay.
like versus
Yeah.
what the idea we had at the beginning. You know, it's like, oh, that sounded like a good idea, but we ended up not doing that. We went a different route, you know, or we went
Yeah,
a better
'cause
route.
we're learning as we're going.
Yeah.
I get it now. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And speaking of that, you know, we'll segue into this next conversation, you know, because, you know, it's been a great conversation. And thank you again for joining me, Jade. And it's great seeing you again. This is the first time I'm seeing her since she's left for Germany. So it's like, hey, how's it going? Coming on the show. First time seeing you. So it's actually really cool to see you in person again. You know, we follow each other on social media and stuff. So that's the, you know, the interaction you get with your friends when you're old. But, you know, thank you again for joining me. We'll segue into the next conversation, which is about psilocybin. And psilocybin is being studied more heavily now that certain states are legalizing. You know, you have Oregon and Colorado, they're coming online, and that's another conversation I'll have with the show. You know, I'll talk about those two. New Mexico, we're working on that right now. I'm working with the group trying to do that as well here in New Mexico. Currently, they're in the process of doing town halls to get public input on how to go about this and really what the framework should be. So we're in the process ourselves. I see maybe if we're lucky next year, we'll get a medical program, you know, passed, but it wouldn't be implemented for at least 2-3 years. You know, there's the standing up of a psilocybin control division, you know, because we have a cannabis control division. So they'll probably just call it the psilocybin control division or something, or, you know, it'd probably go to the DOH first, but once it stands up to like an adult use side, that's probably about 15 years away. It'll most likely go to that. They have to stand that up. They have to make the rules, you know, they have to figure out, okay, how we're going to do licensing, this and that. And so they have to do all this stuff. So I see us within a year, maybe passing 2-3 years, having an actual medical psilocybin program. And that's great because now we're having all these studies. And while we're figuring this out, setting it up, doing all the studies, and UNM is actually doing a lot of studies with Department of Health. They're
fantastic.
currently working on studies. I actually saw a post the other day, them asking for more people for the study. You know, hey, are you using psilocybin?
Oh, shoot. They still
Yeah.
looking for people?
They
I'm
might
here
be.
for
I'll get
another
you
5
information.
days.
I know, right? Do I have to be there? Can I just call? So they've actually been able to study psilocybin more. And before, they haven't known too much on how psilocybin works, this and that. They've had ideas and theories, but there wasn't anything concrete or study to really back that information up. And now with the current studies that they have, it looks like the human brain, the way it reacts with psilocybin is it essentially blocks one area, enhances another. And like you said with the plasticity, it enhances plasticity of your brain for several weeks after even usage. And they've almost confirmed this with the studies that they've done because they took healthy individuals. They didn't take unhealthy individuals. So that's one thing about this study I'll talk about. So they took a bunch of healthy individuals, had them on psilocybin, different doses, et cetera, had them go through MRIs and study their brain, you know, as it goes through the whole trips. And some of the doctors that were part of the studies did it themselves. And it was interesting because when he was on the trip, he went into the human brain, and I was like, oh, I want to talk to that guy to just see what he saw. You know, like just he was like, yeah, I went to there and I just saw the human brain and I saw everything, this and that, and our conclusion was there. You know, like you know and it wasn't. I got my conclusion from there, but I saw it while I was there. You know, kind of thing. And I was like, that's crazy, kind of thing. And so hearing that is really cool because you know it's the kind of person that you are and it's catered to you. You know, your trip and my trip won't be the same. And to be honest, we should probably get away from using those terminologies when it comes to that. I'm sure something will pop up in the future. For now, I can't think of anything on the top of my head. But yeah, you know, yours and mine would be two different, you know, experiences. We're two different people with two different upbringings. You know, just because we've known each other for 9th grade didn't mean that we're there the whole time. And you know, you were the same person. So you know, it's going to be totally different for you and I. And it's just cool to see that. And you know, a doctor going, yeah, you know, for me it was this and this. And then unfortunately, on another part of the study, it said that someone had a bad trip the next time, they saw demons or whatever. And that is one thing that they said at the caveat of it, is that this seems like it would be great to use for depression, for anxiety, for PTSD, for addiction, because it blocks those parts of the brain and unlocks another, and it kind of allows you to become smarter, and it allows you to be able to process everything. And actually, they've said that this also might help people want to get help, because that's the number one issue when it comes to addicts, is they don't want help.
Yes.
And they'll say they want help, but in the end they really don't. And it's not totally their fault, because it's more or less the drugs that are becoming part of them, and really taking control of them. So for them to be able to essentially block that out and say, holy shit, I would need help and I can get help, like it's not stopping me, that's great to hear, even with one dosage, and that could last months, whatever, they can go on a therapy with it. And who knows, maybe in the future we'll figure out that several therapies, whatever, it'll be this. However, they did say to find one patient's therapy, it'll take years of them working with that patient and giving them different dosages and putting them on different things before they can get an actual real way that they want to go with that patient. And I thought that was interesting too. I figured maybe 5 years from now that might change. It might get a little bit shorter, the more understanding that we have of this. Well, it's not really a plant. It's closer to humans than it is a plant. This
Thank you.
organism. Yeah.
Look, all plants.
Mycelium.
All plants are more closer to humans than we think. All animals. Thank you.
Yeah. So it's a living organism, really. So this organism that has lived with plants, side by side, humans side by side. We've been eating mushrooms for probably the beginning, and there's all kinds of studies going on with that. They have like the jokes. People are like, man, I wonder how many humans it took to figure out which mushroom kills you.
Right?
Yeah, I wonder how many humans it took to figure that out.
Yeah, that's true.
So thank you for your sacrifice, ancient humans. To the ancestors, right? So yeah, and it seems that the area that the brain that it really, and I'm sure some of you are curious, the place that it blocks is, I believe, the short-term area of the memory, or it could be vice versa off the top of my head. But that's kind of what it does in the hippocampus and all that stuff. And and that's the reason why the plasticity, and there's a lot of interesting stuff that comes from the studies. Now, I will say this caveat: this is one study, hasn't been backed up by other studies, it needs to be studied more, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm excited to see where this goes, because whoever's going to take this study is going to say, oh, we're going to have to find a bunch of people to take mushrooms. And so they're going to look, okay, what they do that, I feel is wrong scientifically. Okay, one thing that I can point out is they didn't have unhealthy brains in the study. Like, this is nothing but healthy brains, which is cool. It's a good start. Now, I'm curious to see if they're going to use veterans next, because we got some fucked up brains. And it's not just from PTSD. Some of us have been battle rattled because of an IED. Some of us just been, shot, or, you get a rollover in Iraq and you have a head injury, you have a TBI.
Yeah, it's proven military are put in constant fight or flight. Their nervous system is completely different from a normal human being.
Yeah.
And it's on purpose, because they have to, situational awareness, that never stops.
Yeah.
I'm sure you still look around a room
Yeah.
differently than other people do. That activates things in people, which is a great thing to have. They're protectors. They're naturally going to go up and be like, what, there's danger over there. So, but it does activate the nervous system, and they're under a constant stress that people do not see.
Yeah.
And I see with my clients a lot, and it is military, and I advocate to help the military. Like, that is very important. So
yeah, 100%. And so far, like, how have you really thought about this study and everything? Like, how does it make you feel, going further? Is it like positive for the psilocybin movement, or do you kind of feel it just needs to be studied more? What is your feelings?
Again, as a relativist, I feel that anything could be studied more. Shoot, let's study everything more.
Fair.
Also, just because everybody's an individual. So where we get into problems is, say, those long-term studies, someone might have a death in the family later down the road. That affects the study.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if we can get some rats and start studying on them, but like, how are we going to know about emotional and integrity? I don't know. But yeah, I think study more. But I think as we move forward, we need to take an alignment that people have been using these for a millennia. They've always been using them, even if it's illegal or legal. They didn't care. They've still been using them.
Yeah.
And even in Peru, the Amazon, they've consistently use psychedelics and psychotropics, which
Mhm.
is it's a little bit different with DMT. With
Yeah.
the ayahuasca, it's a little bit more of a banger, but with that, I think moving forward that we definitely need more studies, but we do know in alignment that we are, as long as you're doing it in a safe consumption, political answer, you're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
And then with the where they say, and for the bad trips or people use that kind of scenario with ayahuasca, they literally call it where you are fighting your own demons. So you will go into dark places that are hidden inside of you that you didn't know. And so that's part of the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if they ended the study as soon as the person had the bad trip. They're like, oh no, but that is part of the journey.
Yeah. No, they kept going. It just that was a part of, because they had him do it several times. I think it was 3 or 4 times they had them do this.
Great.
And I think the second time he did it is when he encountered the demons during
Mhm.
that trip. And then after that, I think it was all positive or whatever. I'm not too sure. He
Okay,
didn't really stay
cool.
after that. But I do know that they tested them several times. It wasn't just, here's mushrooms one time, go through an MRI. It was like, how was it? This and that. Okay, we're going to do it again in whatever amount of time. I think they gave him a lapse time, probably like a month, maybe a few weeks before they brought him back in. So it's good that they did it this way. I think it's a start. You know, it's a really good start, but you know, they need to start expanding it now. You know,
Mhm.
okay, now let's get the unhealthy brains. You know, let's get the vets. Let's get childhood trauma people. Let's get, you know,
Perfect, yeah.
unfortunately rape victims. You know, let's
Mhm.
get these people here. Let's get people who experienced terrible car wrecks. You know, like that can't drive really because they're afraid of whatever. You know, like something small, simple as that. You know, that
Workaholics. So one of my
Workaholics,
clients
yeah.
is a workaholic. He makes tons of money and he cannot seem to stop to take a break. He's addicted to the rat wheel and he knows it. But he grew up poor, but
Mm.
he's not spending time with family. He's working all the time and he can't seem to stop. And psychotropics help with that.
Yeah.
Just to get you to get grounded
Yeah.
and realize what's important in life.
Yeah, and
from what I've seen
Yeah.
personally.
and from a personal experience, you know, I deal with combat PTSD. You know, I was in Iraq. Most of you know that. And one of the first times I started microdosing psilocybin or mushrooms, I was in my grow room and I was getting frustrated. And then instead of me getting pissed off like I normally would and like rip it apart, you know, go all freaking army Chad and just rip it, and, you know, I stepped back and I said, let me go take a break real quick. So I went and got some water, came back, and then I found out the solution. And I said, okay, that's what we do. We don't get mad, we solve it. You know, we don't get mad, we solve it. And so it taught me something, you know, at that time, or I taught myself something because of it. And it unlocked that part of my brain. I felt it. It was weird. It was like, you're like, whoa, like,
you rewire how you react through. And there's a great scientist, he was on the Diary of a CEO. He actually fully believes you can, by practicing how you react to things, you can change things. And then you start combining it with, you know, mushrooms or psychotropics. It really will help with those responses and you'll be amazed at yourself, is what I've seen from my personal experience.
It's like from my own experience.
Yeah,
there.
my own experience with my own clients and my own people. Yeah, I've seen that.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I want to continue the conversation. I could talk about this all day and everything, but I want to get to the last topic that we have, and it still has to do with psilocybin, but we're going to be talking about Colorado and Oregon. And this essentially is how they're going about their legalization stuff. So Colorado and Oregon, one's taking an approach and the other one's kind of taking a different approach, which is interesting to me. And that's something I expected because every state has gone a different approach when it comes to legalization of cannabis and everything. Essentially, I mean, in Oklahoma, when I was there, they had a law with beer where they couldn't have a certain percentage of beer. It had to be under 5%, I think, or something like that. Here, we don't have that. You have beer that's 9, 10, 12%. Germany, you know, I used to have my favorite beer there was elephant beer. I don't know if you've seen it around. It was the elephant. That was my favorite beer. It was like 12%.
Yeah. That now. Thank you for that memory.
Yeah, no worry. Memory unlocked. Yeah, I was like, why don't you remember this one? Elephant beer. Yeah. So that used to be my favorite one. And I was like 24, 25. So, you know, of course I was like, woo. But anyway, I digress. But before we move on, I want to thank my sponsors again one more time, Monster House, where we're sitting right now. And I want to thank Cinder Cannabis and Turquoise Bloom. Thank you all three again for your contributions to the show and everything. Really helps us out. So thank you guys so much. And we're going to move on to the last topic. So it looks like Oregon is going more of an open route than Colorado, but it's kind of one more thing. And I'll explain in a little bit. So Oregon, they essentially legalize medical psilocybin, but they don't call it that. it's more of like a therapy center, is what they're calling it, and what they're doing. Now, what that does and where the hang up is with that, from what I've heard with other people, is it just makes it really expensive. And it's going to be $800, $2,000, whatever. It's going to be really expensive per visit, and so that makes it really unattainable for a lot of people.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, and especially here in America. You said you went to an ayahuasca place in the Netherlands for $200. And it's like better than staying at a hotel essentially.
Yes.
You got way more, and here in America, $800 and you get, I don't know, like I don't know what you get.
Yep.
So, and I don't know if that's the price or not and everything, but I've heard in Colorado, some people have told me that, yeah, some places are looking at doing therapy stuff for, thousands of dollars per visit, et cetera, et cetera. So I can kind of feel Oregon going the same route, or certain places going the same route, or it could be a state law where they have to charge something. I have no clue. But they're doing that. It looks like they're going to limit people on how much they get, the dosages and stuff like that. Oregon, however, they're going to allow you to have edibles. They're going to allow you to have extracts, et cetera, et cetera. However, Colorado, they're taking a different route. They're not going to allow you to have extracts. And both places are actually going to only allow one strain of psilocybin, which is going to be like the penis envies, which is the cubensis, psilocybin cubensis. It's like the penis envies and all that. I know, straight face, and I say it.
Penis enemies. One more time, Chad. It's like you watch the reaction.
I'll read off the list so I can stop saying that. So, but yeah, so they have all those on there. Here it is right here. So Golden Teacher's another one, and Hillbilly along the side of
I love the Hillbilly. Okay,
I haven't had Hillbilly yet, but yeah. So I've had Golden Teacher, really thin, really kind of interesting looking. I like the thicker looking ones. They're really flimsy and they break. Like when you're trying to carry it, they're just really flimsy. She's trying to hold herself together. I'm making it worse. It's great.
Listening. I am. This is educational as fuck.
I really hate the fact that like both industries decided to go a route where they name shit really fucked up things.
It is. I don't know if it's helping but look, it's helping me.
It's like I'm getting some dopamine right now. I was talking earlier before the show. I was like, yeah, like Alaskan Thunderfuck, it does this and this, or like. And like she was like, you must be so used to saying these names with like a straight face, because like I said it earlier. She's like, you just said that just straight face and kept going. Anyway,
he went back to writing something like a doctor. Okay, Thunderfuck. And he's like, yeah. Like, okay.
Oh man.
But yeah, these are some good names. They're definitely, they're eye catchers.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to catch the eye, and that's what's going to propel it forward. That's what's important. It's part of the experience.
Yeah, I agree. And as adults, we can either laugh or take it serious. Either way, you're getting medically dosed.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it looks like both of them are just going to go with the cubensis version for now. I don't know why. I was reading that a lot of them are saying that, well, now you're just kind of you're limiting us to different things. There's other ones that help with like, inflammation. There's some that help with, other things, not just mentally, helps physically, and you're kind of cutting us off from there. And I guess what they're doing, and this, now I'm thinking it, I guess coining this term now, is the Germany route, is they're doing it in steps. And this is what the government said. It's like, we're doing it in steps. We're trying this one out, and then we're going to add more as time goes so you guys can add them. To me, it's a little weird that they decided to just go that route on just that part and not other parts. Like, yeah, they're going almost a club route, but we know it's going to be expensive. So that's the hang up for me, is I know for 100% fact that they're going to charge premium dollar to have people go to their clinics and do this. And that kind of scares me, because the people that really need it usually can't afford it.
Yeah, they're already struggling throughout life. And then, for instance, I mean, when, medicinal marijuana was legalized, did they take away different strands and different types? No.
Yeah.
So that's where I have a contention, but I'm a little bit of a debater when someone says anything about limiting psychotropics. I get real analytical on people and pragmatic and logical. And so that would be a good point to bring up. Like, look, where in the world have we done this before, where you just limited, this? Because it only could help. And then as far as it being expensive at first, I find that very strange too, because they know that, like you said, the people that are struggling the most, they're dealing with a lot of issues. They don't have that kind of money. They're overwhelmed. And when you're overwhelmed, it propels you to make even more mistakes. And money is one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, I agree with you on that. it is a step forward, and I do know about the steps, but I mean, with what I do for a living, 1,500 deaths a day from men suicide. So the longer that they wait, the more that we're in danger of mental health crisis.
Yeah.
And so I could see both sides as what do we do from here? We have
Yeah.
to protect some, but then also we have to propel it forward. But I say propel that propel that bitch forward as quickly as possible when it comes to this kind of situation with paying too much money where it's not accessible to people.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I agree. And I get it's going to be expensive at first, this and that, business wise, but we kind of have to think. And people make this not complaint, but they make this argument now. You know, like we're afraid that once it goes legal or medical, whatever route, that it's not going to be medicinal anymore. It's not going to be spiritual anymore because, you know, some of the tribes in the state are actually really concerned. They've actually, you know, we've talked to a couple and they are concerned that, you know, the spirituality that they use it for is going to be gone or they're not going to be able to practice, et cetera, et cetera. Which is, it's a real fear. You know, and it's something that you have that is sacred to you is being used willy-nilly, you know, and that's a concern. But at the same time, it's for everybody.
Yeah,
you know?
we live on planet Earth, and I'm gonna go the other way because look, I'm real open about my culture. I'm writing, several books, and I let down a lot of information about the secrets of my tribe and how they've helped with mental awareness and stuff that they've known for years and years. And I believe our ancestors, which is all of our ancestors, we all benefit from this.
Yeah.
If your neighbor's happy, you're happy. If your spouse is happy, you're happy. Like I do. This is not your gatekeeping medicine. This is in my opinion, of course, but look, it's only logical. If you keep one medicine away from people and you try to gatekeep it, then when do we start gatekeeping all medicine?
Yeah.
Because the Dutch, they're doing the studies on psychedelics for a while, so they should gatekeep those DMTs in their own chemical. They're coming up with different chemical ones, so they should. No, I don't believe in that. Look, that's my opinion, and most of my family believes that too. Being an Apache, we are here to help people.
Yeah.
We are medicine people.
Yeah.
And we will only strive forward in this world if we're using Mexican medicine, Indian medicine, Native American medicine, Dutch medicine, German medicine. We all work together, and I really strongly believe that. So if anyone brings that up to me, I'm going to disagree with you wholeheartedly.
I personally agree with you, because I feel it. All these plants, all these.
Yeah, and let me know who says that. Like, if it's another native, look, I'll talk to them. Like, I'll bring up some studies.
Yeah.
Because look, we need to care about people more.
Yeah.
It's not just about one person, one culture, or whatever. And to be frank, every culture was a tribe at one time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we are all in this together.
Yeah, you made me realize, being in Germany and sharing your experiences. You know, you told us in the story. You said, I got to hang out with some natives from Germany, and I was like, that makes sense. You're right. You know, like it's just weird to hear that because being from America, you're only used to, our color kind of being, the native. And so I saw the pictures and I was like, she's not wrong. Everyone's native to somewhere, and everyone belonged to a tribe at some point, and, whatever happened to where you got here, it happened. But at one point, we're in a tribe. We're all in small communities, whatever. We're all indigenous to somewhere, and we all had our own remedies and our medicines and we need to bring them together.
Yeah, and food's medicine too, if we want to get along that line. Look, let's say that Mexicans quit giving us Mexican food. That would have been horrible. Like if they keep the Mexican food, because spices are known to release things in your brain too to make you feel good, and also the spices awaken you. People use them for several different things. Like if you look at it on a broader scale, you pull yourself away from issues and you become unbiased. You see how crucial it is just to lead with your heart.
Yeah.
Lead with your heart and you'll never go wrong.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on this. Look, and you let me know. Anyone want, because I will come down with some science and some actual cultural relevance that we were initially with our culture to help people, no matter if they were native or not, using our medicine to help all people. That was the understanding until the wars broke out. Yeah. And it's in the history books that we got along at one time in the past and we're using it to help people. and then the wars broke out.
Yeah.
But like, so where it got misconstrued that now we have to keep certain things. And look, the tribes in the Amazon are very helpful. They're doing studies.
Yeah.
To help propel it. They know it helps people. So
Yeah.
we just all just need to get on board.
Yeah.
Like this train is leaving, and we're all going to the same place, no matter what, kicking or screaming or not. Like we're going.
Yeah, there's enough seats for everybody.
Yeah,
so,
enough seats for everyone, and we're going.
Yeah, but if you don't want that seat, I'll gladly lay in that aisle.
Yeah.
So, but thank you so much, Jade. I appreciate you coming on the show today. That's really all I have left. Do you have anything before we log off for the day?
No, I just want to thank you, and thank you for inviting me, and this has been a great experience. And I hope to come back again, and you send me on another mission. I hope. That was fun.
Yeah. I'll definitely send you on another mission, especially as things start to advance more in Germany. So
yes, definitely.
maybe I'll have you do it remotely, somewhere from over Germany, so you don't have to come all
we
over
do
here.
some live action video over there.
Heck yeah, that may be a good time. Yeah, maybe I'll do a show and you'll be there. We can do the day before, whatever, and you're at an event. We can talk to a couple people.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay, cool.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, dude. It's been great. It's great seeing you and all that. It's been years. So yeah. Thank you all again for watching the show, and again for Jade for being here, Monster House for providing the space, Cinder Cannabis for your sponsorship, as well as Turquoise Bloom for your sponsorship too. Make sure you like, subscribe, whatever you got to do to stay in the know, guys, and to stay following. I'll keep you guys updated with anything else that pops up in the community. You guys know that. So I'll see you next week. All right, cheers.